Arctic Voyage from Murmansk to Pavek. The Northern Sea Route is a convenient transport corridor for delivering Arctic hydrocarbons to Asian markets. And it is the shortest route between the largest markets of the European Union and the Asia-Pacific region. To provide a comparison, if we started our voyage to China from Murmansk today, keeping to the classic southern route, the length of this voyage would be more than 12,000 miles. Today, using the route plotted by the captain, we have a voyage of about 7,000 miles. When considering transport economies and efficiencies of shipping, these are always related to the distance covered and the consequent expenditure on energy as well as other costs associated with the transportation work undertaken. Those who have undertaken the appropriate risk assessment with a fleet that's already prepared for the hardships of sailing in the polar seas can take advantage of using the Northern Sea Route. The main thing we wish to demonstrate is that large tonnage vessels of the same ice class, which are allowed to sail to St. Petersburg and operate in the White Sea on a year-round basis, may also take advantage of the Northern Sea Route during the summer-autumn seasons without difficulty. The possibility of using the Northern Sea Route for commercial purposes has been discussed for a long time already. However, there's been no serious projects until recently. Sovcomflot and Novatek, in association with Rosatomflot, took the decision in 2008 to organize an experimental commercial voyage with the objective of undertaking a practical analysis of the Northern Sea Route's transport potential under present-day conditions. Now the task is to verify the ability of large tonnage tankers to pass through the Northern Sea Route, as this is the first time that a tanker of this size, namely an Aframax vessel, has passed through the Northern Sea Route whilst loaded. Sovcomflot specialists have proceeded to an intensive study of the weather conditions, hydrography, and ice conditions of the shipping lanes of the Northern Sea Route. The most important thing is to undertake good planning and have advanced knowledge of the ice conditions likely to be encountered on the voyage. The complicated nature of the voyage is proven by the exhaustive planning over more than 6 months of the forthcoming voyage. Still, a number of areas in the Russian Arctic have not been researched properly. To provide adequate data on the available depths suitable for large-capacity vessels. For almost a year, we have monitored, that is, traced the Arctic ice dynamics and registered their changes in order to select the most favorable sea ice conditions. The unique character of this voyage is defined first of all by the vessel size, which has a length of 250 meters and a beam of 44 meters. That made this an unprecedented voyage in the history of commercial shipping involving loaded vessels of this scale sailing in an easterly direction. The Aframax-class tanker Baltica, belonging to Sovcomflot, was chartered by Novatek for the shipment of a gas condensate cargo. On August 14, 2010, the tanker departed Murmansk, sailing in an easterly direction. Raised anchor and heading north. Our vessel has a capacity of 115,000 tons deadweight, and as far as I'm aware, the largest ship to have completed the voyage previously had been of some 30,000 tons deadweight. You can see that the difference between 115,000 and 30,000 tons is significant. The vessels have totally different handling features, stopping times, turning characteristics, which meant we had to try to compensate for all these factors. In spite of the rich experience of working in the Arctic regions, the unique conditions of the voyage demanded a special approach from the Russian sailors. A tanker of this size has never been taken through the Northern Sea Route before. The Arctic comprises zones of intensive ice formation, the so-called ice massives. They have a tendency to move around, and hence they need to be monitored. It was Taimirski ice massive in particular which caused a real obstacle for the voyage of this tanker. There was no prior experience to guide us, neither for the icebreakers nor us. I mean the experience of working with an icebreaker. Thus, everything had to be tried out and developed during the course of the voyage. The winds blow from the south. No ice is seen yet. Modern icebreakers from Rosatomflot provide the tanker with the necessary support during the passage through the ice fields. Due to the vessel's size, she is 1.5 times larger than any of our large icebreakers. That's why she'll be making a channel, preparing a safe channel through the solid ice for us. The ice conditions of the Arctic regions are fraught with many dangers. The difficulties have already appeared. Look, though no ice is expected in the region we're sailing through, the fog is extremely thick. The forecastle is barely discernible, which certainly creates problems in the sense that ice could appear from anywhere, so you always run the risk of colliding with it. Multi-year ice, or ice which does not melt completely in the summer and continues for a time for many years, which is why it's called multi-year ice. There is plenty of this ice in the Arctic region. This ice has a completely different structure. It's harder than one-year ice. And that's why even atomic icebreakers, designed to work amidst ice up to 3 meters thick, stop at it as if they had run into a wall. Ice is coming. 1-3, the middle floe is split. There are separate pieces there, you know, but they are hard. In the Vilkitsky Strait, the convoy meets spacious fields of one-year ice. Slow ahead. Slow ahead. Here the icebreakers are sailing parallel courses, organized according to the front or the ledge. The tanker is following astern behind the windward icebreaker, after which the channel is left free. As we expected, a great deal of information was collected during the course of the voyage, relating to technical, navigational, hydrometeorological matters, which will be priceless when planning future work here in the Arctic region. Above all, this is relevant in the context of the development of the Murmansk power hub, of the Stockman field, and of the Yamal. Facing new and from time to time unique tasks on a daily basis, the crews of the tanker and the icebreakers deploy the experience from many generations of Russian sailors used to working in high latitudes. The experimental voyage demands maximum commitment from every crew member. One can read thousands of books about ice, but until you see the ice from the bridge of the vessel, until you hear the cracking of the ice breaking, until you understand how to distinguish thin and thick ice visually, until you learn how to force ice hummocks correctly with minimum damage for the vessel, nothing will succeed. Such practice may be gained only here, on the bridge. Russia is now the only country possessing professional sailors who are able to work in severe Arctic conditions. Engineers, electricians, none of them take a full-time position straight away, after only having just obtained a higher education diploma. An employee first takes a special atomic training course, then passes to probation, then needs to pass a battery of exams, and only after that does he obtain his first command. One man was retiring 2 weeks ago. He had worked 51 years in the nuclear-powered fleet. The man was 72. He came when he was 21 from the very beginning, since Lenin, you know. He worked 30 years as a chief engineer only. That's what I call schooling. Three highly professional captains keep watch on board the tanker Baltica, replacing each other in shifts, following guidelines which maximize the safety of the voyage. Success in the Arctic depends upon many factors, namely modern and effective vessel construction and equipment for Arctic use. But the most important factor, one without which no equipment will ever work, is people, their experience, their ability to work amidst the ice. The major part of the passage is over, but the most complicated and dangerous section is ahead, the Sannikov Strait. We're expecting an underkeel clearance of about 2 meters. Here, where the deepest draft of the vessel is 11 meters, the speed is down to 6 knots, which prevents the tanker experiencing significant squat that may occur at higher speeds. We'll have to travel slowly, just for the sake of preserving the vessel's steering capability. If the tanker travels at low speed, it will lose time, which in turn may prove to be unprofitable and generate losses for the voyage itself. Pass this small ice floe so that we can split it and move away from it on a course of 110 degrees. Aye, aye. The situation is complicated by the fact that this area is at a significant distance from the provision bases of the AMERCOM emergency rescue services. We have carried out a very thorough risk analysis, but it's still a step into the unknown. It's always fraught with some potentially dangerous and treacherous surprises. There are a lot of valuable goods in my or the captain's personal possession, much more than 100 rubles worth. So a collision could bring massive losses. All these risks we faced required careful handling, and we have managed them well. For the first time during this passage, at our suggestion, a mobile emergency rescue service was organized on board one of the accompanying icebreakers. Additional specialist equipment was embarked, which is ready for use in case of an emergency, such as if an oil products or cargo spillage happens, or if the vessel is damaged. For example, the propeller or hull could be damaged. The emergency response team is organized as well, which can use the equipment effectively. I should like to emphasize again that this has all been arranged for the first time. No matter how difficult it is, the excellent preparation before the voyage has brought positive results. On August 25th, the tanker enters Pevek and proves that it's possible for large tonnage vessels to pass through the Northern Sea route successfully. Everything was accomplished in a very professional manner. The voyage is a success, and I think that the sailor's proverb has proven to be true again. The better the cargo is secured, the better the weather will be at sea. The icebreaker's assistance is no longer required, and the tanker may now move through the Bering Strait to China in its normal operational mode. The voyage time has proven to be so short and the savings in bunkers so significant that the full results of the voyage enable one to view the Northern Sea route as an extremely profitable and promising transport corridor. I should like to note the fact that our passage had taken 20 days fewer than if the vessel had sailed to her destination via the Suez Canal. Taking into account the tanker's fuel consumption of 40 tons a day, we have saved 800 tons in bunkers. 800 tons at $500 per ton is $400,000. It is also worth mentioning that the 800 tons we saved means 3,000 tons of CO2 that were not emitted into the atmosphere. This means that from an environmental perspective, sailing via the Northern Sea route is also efficient. The major energy consumer of the future in the second and third decades of the 21st century is Asia for sure. This shorter route signifies a lot for Russian interests. Moreover, it stimulates the economic development of the regions located along the Northern Sea route. So it certainly coincides with the deepest national interests of this country. The success of the voyage has exceeded all expectations and has allowed Sovcomflot to plan towards extending its navigational window in the Arctic from May to October. When speaking about the 2010 voyage's significance for the world maritime community, I think that in the future, when regular maritime traffic across the Northern Sea route is introduced and developed, it will gain a significance comparable only to that of the Suez Canal. The unique transport potential of the Northern Sea route opens wide new horizons for Russia regarding the development of hydrocarbon exports and profitable international cooperation in the global shipping market.